The wind howls over the Alps. Snow whips across jagged mountains, and standing above a frightened army, eyes fixed on the horizon, is a man whose name would haunt Rome for generations. His soldiers tremble, not from fear of him, but from fury at the empire he vowed to destroy. Behind him, the ground shakes as massive silhouettes emerge from the mist. Elephants, armored giants from Africa, stepping into European snow. And at their head, the man destined to terrify the Roman world, Hannibal Barca. A general so brilliant, Rome would whisper his name like a nightmare. Today, we uncover the story of the man who came closer than anyone in history to crushing the greatest empire the world has ever known. Hannibal, the thunderbolt of Carthage, born to war, raised in vengeance, and driven by a single unbreakable oath to destroy Rome. Yet his story is not merely one of battles. It is a saga of family honor, African power, betrayal, genius, and fate. To understand Hannibal, we must travel back, not to Italy, not to the Alps, but to North Africa, to the powerful city-state that rivaled Rome, Carthage. The Oath in Blood. The Mediterranean sun glimmers on the harbors of Carthage. Columns rise over the skyline, markets hum with trade, and at its core stands a proud, noble family, the Barcas. It is here, in 247 BC, Hannah gives birth to a son who will reshape ancient history. His name, Hannibal. His father, Hamilcar Barca, is already a legend, Carthage's greatest general, the lion of the desert, a man who battled Rome across Sicily. But defeat in the First Punic War burns in his heart like fire. Rome forced Carthage to its knees, stripped it of territories, drained its treasury, and humiliated its people. And Hamilcar, holding his young son's hand, refuses to accept that humiliation. History tells us the moment. Hannibal is 9 years old. Hamilcar places his hand on a sacrifice altar, a sacred ritual, and he commands Hannibal to swear a vow before the gods: hate Rome forever. The child nods, his eyes fierce. That day, Hannibal's life is set upon a path that will shake continents. This is no mere rivalry. This is vengeance, sanctified by religion, family, and destiny. Forged by war. While Roman children learn rhetoric and law, Hannibal learns strategy and steel. He grows not in palaces, but on campaign. First in Carthage, then in far-off Iberia, where his father builds a new empire and a new army to one day strike back at Rome. When Hamilcar dies, command passes to Hasdrubal the Fair, Hannibal's brother-in-law. Under him, Hannibal masters diplomacy and becomes beloved by Iberian tribes. But soon Hasdrubal too is killed, and Carthage's soldiers, hardened African veterans, Iberian warriors, Libyan spearmen, Numidian cavalry, chant for one man alone, Hannibal. At 26, Hannibal becomes commander of Carthage's forces in Iberia. Young, but already brilliant. Scholars describe him as charismatic, intelligent, terrifying in battle, able to endure hunger, cold, and hardship better than anyone. His men love him, Rome fears him, and Hannibal, he remembers his vow. The spark of war. Rome eyes his growing power nervously. The two superpowers stand locked like predatory beasts. Then the fuse is lit. Hannibal besieges the Iberian city of Saguntum, Rome's ally. Rome demands he stop. Hannibal refuses. For 8 brutal months, Saguntum holds. Then, starving and broken, it falls. Rome demands Hannibal's surrender. Carthage refuses, and the Senate in Rome issues a fateful declaration. War. Not just any war. The Second Punic War. A conflict that will decide who rules the Mediterranean, and perhaps the world. Rome assumes Hannibal will defend Carthage or fight in Spain. But Hannibal dreams bigger. He will do the unthinkable, march directly into the heart of Italy. Not by sea, but across mountains no army would dare cross. The Alps. The march that defied the world. Spring 218 BC, Hannibal assembles one of the most daring invasion forces in history. 90,000 infantry, 12,000 cavalry, and 37 war elephants, Africa's battering rams, trained to trample enemy lines. But the journey is hell. The Pyrenees, the Rhone River, tribal ambushes, starvation, frostbite, and then the Alps. Snow-covered giants, cold enough to shatter bone, steep enough to swallow armies. Roman envoys laugh at the idea. No sane commander would attempt it. But Hannibal is not like other men. For 16 grueling days, his troops claw their way up mountainsides. Men die, horses slip into ravines, elephants collapse in the snow. And yet, Hannibal never falters. Every step brings him closer to vengeance. He rallies his men atop the peaks, pointing down to the fertile plains of Italy. There lies Rome. When the army descends, fewer than half remain. But those who survive are forged into iron. Rome, unprepared, now faces the impossible. Hannibal has arrived. The storm in Italy. The next 3 years become a nightmare for the Roman Republic. Hannibal unleashes tactical genius on a scale the world has rarely seen. At the river Trebia, he lures Roman legions across freezing waters, then crushes them in a double envelopment ambush. At Lake Trasimene, morning fog hides his forces as they swallow an entire Roman army whole. Thousands die without time to raise a shield. Rome is paralyzed with fear. Then comes the climax. Cannae, Rome's darkest day. August 2, 216 BC, a hot, dusty day in southern Italy. Hannibal's forces are outnumbered nearly 2 to 1, his 50,000 against 80,000 Roman infantry. Rome has never fielded such a force. They plan to smash him by brute strength, but brute strength is no match for genius.
Hannibal arranges his troops in a crescent. As Rome charges, the center slowly bends back, seemingly collapsing. Romans push forward, trapped in their own momentum. Then, at the perfect moment, Hannibal snaps the trap shut. African infantry crushes from the sides. His cavalry, superior, swift, ruthless, returns to strike the Roman rear. The greatest double envelopment in military history, a masterpiece studied by generals to this day. By sunset, The battlefield is silent, except for crows. 50,000 Romans dead. Blood stains the dust. Senators, nobles, consuls, gone. Rome is shattered, its armies annihilated. This is the worst battlefield defeat Rome ever suffers. Families mourn in silence. The city locks its gates. Women tear their hair. Rome bans the word peace. And Hannibal, victorious, unstoppable, at the gates of Rome's destiny. Victory without a city. Yet victory is not enough. Hannibal expects Carthage to send reinforcements. He expects his success to trigger Italy's complete revolt. Some Italian states do rise. Capua, the second largest city in Italy, opens its gates. King Philip of Macedon promises support, but Carthage hesitates. Politics, jealousy, rival factions, they deny him the army he needs. Hannibal has shattered Rome on the battlefield, but without siege equipment and fresh troops, he cannot storm the mighty walls of Rome. This moment, after Cannae, is one of history's great turning points. Some say Hannibal should have marched on Rome anyway. Others argue it was impossible. What is certain is this: Rome is wounded, but not dead, and Rome refuses to surrender. The war turns. Rome adapts. A new commander arises, Fabius Maximus. He refuses open battle. He shadows Hannibal, starves his army, burns crops, avoids traps. Romans call him coward, but time proves him wise. The Fabian strategy is born. Bleed Hannibal, never face him head-on. Meanwhile, Roman legions strike Carthaginian territories abroad. In Spain, they harass Hannibal's supply lines. In Africa, they pressure Carthage directly. Hannibal remains undefeated in Italy for 16 years, a ghost roaming the peninsula, winning battles but losing the war of attrition. Finally, a young Roman named Publius Cornelius Scipio lands in Africa. His invasion forces Carthage's Senate to recall Hannibal home. After decades abroad, he returns, older, fewer soldiers, but still unbroken. The final clash awaits. Zama, the lion, faces his shadow. 202 BC, the plains of Zama. Two titans stand face to face: Hannibal, the master of strategy, and Scipio, the student who learned from him. History holds its breath.
It is a battle of equals, but time favors Rome. Hannibal loses, not dishonorably, but to a rising power fueled by numbers, discipline, and relentless resolve. Carthage falls. Rome becomes master of the Mediterranean. And Hannibal? He lives, but his fate is sealed. Exile, pursuit, and the final act. Rome demands Hannibal be handed over. He flees into exile, moving across the eastern Mediterranean, advising kings who defy Rome. But Roman vengeance is patient. Wherever Hannibal goes, Roman envoys follow, demanding his surrender. The hunter becomes the hunted. At last, weary of running, proud to the end, Hannibal chooses his destiny. Surrounded, with no escape, he drinks poison kept hidden in a ring. Let us relieve the Romans from their constant fear, since they think it too long and too dangerous to wait for the death of an old man. Hannibal dies far from his homeland, but unbeaten in spirit. Even in Rome, some senators mourn him. They recognize greatness, even in an enemy. The legacy of Hannibal. Hannibal did not destroy Rome, but he changed it forever. Rome reformed its military because of him. Generations of commanders, Caesar, Napoleon, studied his tactics. His double envelopment at Cannae remains the gold standard of battlefield strategy. Carthage, once wealthy and proud, would later be erased entirely by Rome. But Hannibal's name endures, rising above ruins and centuries. In modern Tunisia, statues stand in his honor. African and Mediterranean history claims him as a son of its soil, a symbol of ingenuity, courage, and relentless determination. Hannibal Barca, the African general who crossed mountains, tamed war elephants, shattered Roman armies, and stood on the edge of rewriting world history. A man who proved that genius can terrify empires, and that one oath can echo across millennia. Rome feared him, history remembers him, and every great commander since has walked in his shadow. Hannibal did not conquer Rome, but Rome never conquered Hannibal's legend.